A young tennis player from the Philippines defeats defending champion Iga Swiatek, and suddenly, the entire tennis business starts paying attention. Alex Eala's third-round highlight package reportedly reached 1.2 million views on Wimbledon's official YouTube channel. That would make it the most watched video on the channel during the entire tournament. But the real story isn't just the number of views. It's what happened next. Fans began showing up in larger numbers. Ticket demand spiked. Media coverage expanded. Tournament organizers started recognizing the cultural power of her audience. And some of the biggest names in tennis began talking about Alex Eala, not just as a talented player, but as someone who can move crowds and sell tickets. This is what many are calling the Eala Effect. Today, we are looking at the data, the fan reaction, and the business impact behind Alex Eala's rise, and why this 21-year-old could be quietly changing the future of professional tennis. Alex Eala is not coming from one of tennis's traditional superpowers. She is from the Philippines, a country with an enormous sports culture, but one that has rarely produced a global tennis superstar. That makes her rise even more significant. When players from the United States, Spain, or Eastern Europe break through, the tennis world already has a familiar system around them: established academies, major sponsors, media coverage, and a history of elite players. Alex Eala is helping build that attention from the ground up. And she is doing it with a combination that is extremely valuable in modern sports. First, she has the skill to compete at the highest level. Second, she has a personal story that audiences can connect with. And third, she represents a country, and a worldwide Filipino community, that has been waiting for a moment like this. When Alex walks onto the court, Filipino fans are not simply watching another tennis match. For many of them, they are watching someone represent their country on one of the biggest stages in the world. That emotional connection is powerful. In professional sports, rankings matter. Championships matter. But there is another factor that can be just as important. How deeply does the audience care? In Alex Eala's case, people clearly care. The moment that pushed her into the global spotlight was her victory over defending champion Iga Swiatek. Swiatek was already one of the biggest stars in women's tennis. Her matches attract global attention, and her status as a defending champion made the matchup even more important. But Alex changed the entire storyline. This was no longer just another match on a crowded tournament schedule. It became the classic sports story. A rising star. A defending champion. An unexpected result. And a fan base that celebrated every point as if it were a national event. The official Wimbledon highlight package reportedly reached 1.2 million views. That number matters because highlight videos compete for attention with everything else on the internet. They compete with superstar athletes, viral clips, entertainment content, and breaking news. For a tennis video featuring a relatively new global name to generate that kind of interest, something unusual is happening. Filipino fans were sharing the video. Tennis fans wanted to see the upset. Casual viewers were curious about the player who had defeated a defending champion. And international media coverage pushed the story even further. Alex had transformed one match into a global conversation. But the most surprising number may not have come from the match highlights. It came from the press conference. According to reports, nearly 600,000 people tuned in to watch Alex Eala's post-match interview. That is an extraordinary level of attention for a tennis press conference. Normally, these interviews are watched mostly by dedicated tennis fans, journalists, analysts, and people who want to hear directly from the players. Casual viewers usually do not search for a post-match press conference. But Alex's audience did. They wanted to know what she was thinking after the biggest victory of her career. They wanted to hear how she handled the pressure. They wanted to understand what the win meant to her, to the Philippines, and to the fans who had followed her journey. This tells us something important about her appeal. People are not only interested in Alex's results. They are interested in Alex herself. That is a major difference. A player can have a great match and receive attention for one day. But when fans stay for the interview, follow the story, share the clips, and wait for the next appearance, that athlete begins to develop something much more valuable. A loyal audience. Now, online views are impressive. But in sports, the biggest test is whether digital attention becomes real-world demand. In Alex Eala's case, that appears to be happening. At the DC Open, reports suggested that Alex was responsible for approximately 80% of ticket inquiries. If that figure is accurate, it would be a remarkable result. Most tennis tournaments depend on a combination of major stars, local players, rivalries, and competitive matchups to drive attendance. But Alex's name alone appeared to create enormous interest. Then came Toronto. Her match reportedly sold out in less than 30 minutes. That is where the Eala Effect becomes more than a social media trend. There is a major difference between being popular online and being able to sell tickets. Many athletes go viral. Far fewer can make fans change their plans, buy tickets, travel to a stadium, and pay to watch them compete in person. Alex appears to be crossing that line. Her online audience is not passive. They are active. They watch the highlights. They follow the interviews. They share the clips. And when she comes to their city, they want to be there. For tournament organizers, that kind of player is incredibly valuable. Alex can potentially increase broadcast views, social engagement, ticket sales, sponsorship interest, and media coverage, all at the same time. That makes her more than a promising athlete. It makes her a powerful sports business asset. To understand Alex's popularity, you also have to understand the Filipino diaspora. Filipino communities are spread across the United States, Canada, the Middle East, Europe, and Asia. For millions of people, Alex is not a distant celebrity. She feels familiar. She represents a culture, a community, and a country that has often been underrepresented in global tennis. When Alex plays, Filipino fans show up with flags, shirts, signs, and enormous energy. They share her matches across social media. They discuss her performances with family and friends. They turn individual matches into community events. That kind of fanbase creates a powerful feedback loop. The more attention Alex receives, the more new viewers discover her. The more people discover her, the more fans show up. The larger the crowds become, the more media covers the story. And the more media coverage she receives, the more valuable she becomes to tournament organizers and sponsors. That is how a player becomes a movement. The impact has even started showing up in the tournament experience itself. At the National Bank Open, organizers reportedly added chicken adobo to the concession menu to serve Filipino fans. On the surface, that may sound like a small detail. But in sports marketing, small details can send a very powerful message. It tells fans that they are seen. Their culture matters. Their food, traditions, music, and identity are part of the event. Modern sports organizations are no longer treating their audiences as one giant, anonymous crowd. They are identifying the communities that are driving engagement and creating experiences specifically for them. Alex Eala is helping make Filipino tennis fandom visible inside major international tournaments. That visibility can have long-term consequences. Young Filipino athletes may see tennis as a sport where they belong. Parents may become more interested in putting their children into tennis programs. Brands may recognize the spending power of Filipino communities. And tournament organizers may begin to understand that representation is not only meaningful, it can also create real business value. The Eala Effect has also received recognition from within the tennis world. Tennis legend Jimmy Connors reportedly described the support around Alex as intimidating. Players such as Naomi Osaka and Felix Auger-Aliassime have also publicly acknowledged the size and power of her audience. Those comments matter because professional players understand the difference between ordinary support and a truly influential fan base. A loud crowd can change the energy of a match. It can make an opponent feel pressure. It can turn a regular tournament court into a home stadium. And it can give an event the atmosphere of a major final, even when the tournament is still in its early rounds. When established players notice the crowd following Alex, it confirms that this is not simply a social media illusion. Her fans are changing the environment around her. They are influencing the atmosphere, the coverage, and the perceived importance of her matches. That is a rare kind of power for a player who is still so early in her professional career. Now, all eyes are turning toward New York and the US Open. The US Open is one of the biggest stages in tennis. Playing at Arthur Ashe Stadium can define a player's career, especially when the atmosphere is loud and the audience is fully invested. According to reports, the USTA scheduled Alex for 3 appearances on Arthur Ashe Stadium before the main draw even began. If confirmed, that would be a major statement. Court scheduling is not random. Organizers consider audience demand, broadcast value, player popularity, ticket potential, and the atmosphere a match can create. Alex checks several of those boxes. Her appearances could attract Filipino fans from across the United States. They could produce highly shareable social media moments. And if she delivers another dramatic performance, the US Open could become the next major chapter in her rise. But there is also a question hanging over the tournament. Was the Wimbledon explosion a one-time reaction to a historic upset? Or is Alex building a lasting audience? The US Open may provide the answer. So, how many views could Alex Eala's first-round highlight package receive at Flushing Meadows? There are several possible scenarios. If the match is routine, the video could still perform strongly because Alex now has a much larger audience. If she plays a close match or stages a dramatic comeback, the numbers could rise significantly. And if she defeats another highly ranked opponent, with a packed Arthur Ashe Stadium behind her, the video could become a major viral sports moment. Based on the reported Wimbledon performance, a reasonable prediction could be between 1.5 million and 3 million views. Under perfect conditions, an upset, an emotional celebration, a huge Filipino crowd, and strong media coverage, the video could potentially reach 5 million views or more. My prediction is 2.4 million views. Not because views are guaranteed, but because Alex now has something she did not have before Wimbledon. Anticipation. Fans are no longer discovering her for the first time. They are waiting for the next chapter. And anticipation is one of the strongest forces in sports media. Alex Eala's story is still in its early stages. She may not yet have the biggest collection of trophies in tennis, but she has already achieved something that every major sports organization wants. She has captured attention. Her matches generate views. Her press conferences attract audiences. Her name appears to drive ticket demand. Her fans are influencing the atmosphere inside stadiums. And her cultural impact is changing the way tournaments connect with their audiences. That is the Eala Effect. A player's influence cannot be measured only by wins and losses. Sometimes, influence is measured by how many people begin watching a sport because of that player. It is measured by how many fans feel represented. It is measured by whether people are willing to buy a ticket, travel to a stadium, and bring their families to watch. Alex Eala is not just representing the Philippines on a tennis court. She is showing the global sports industry what happens when elite talent meets identity, community, and digital attention. So now, the question is for you. How many views will Alex Eala's first-round US Open highlight package receive? Will it break 2 million? Will it reach 5 million? Or could the next major upset take it even higher? Leave your prediction in the comments. And subscribe if you want to follow Alex Eala's view counts, ticket demand, fan reactions, and tournament impact throughout the US Open. Because the Eala Effect is not over. It may have only just begun.